What's going on, everyone? This is probably going to be one of those videos that's very polarizing. Either you really like it or you really won't. And I haven't even done a camera comparison in so long. I'm talking like since the iPhone 7 was released, because I don't really think cameras have been improving that much recently. And between these phones, the iPhone XR and the iPhone 8 Plus, I really don't think there's that much of a difference in the upgrade. So what I mean by that is like going from an 8 Plus to an iPhone XR, I don't think it's an upgrade at all. I think actually it's kind of the opposite of that. And basically what I did was I took the same exact photos on both these phones, and I kind of wanted to see, which one is better. Maybe the iPhone XR does have advantages here and there. And I'll tell you right now, there's some advantages with both cameras. I don't think one camera really knocked the other one out of the park. There are some key features that the iPhone 8 Plus has that the iPhone XR lacks, but we'll get into those in a second. So I kind of want to show you some photos. I put them side by side. I try my best to align it up perfectly. It's not going to be 100% lined up perfectly, but I kind of want to see what I can do. Starting off with the first photo, now I have the iPhone 8 Plus photo on the left, I have the iPhone XR photo on the right, and it's going to be like that this whole entire time. And from a bird's eye view, both these photos look exactly the same in my opinion. There's really nothing that really draws me to point out one thing over the other. Now, one thing I want to kind of say is that the "we" in the back, the black part in the right side on both, it seems like it's a little bit darker on the iPhone 8 Plus than it is on the iPhone XR. Now, in both these, I clean out the cameras, I touched and focused on the same exact parts. Now, I try to take it in the same location and everything. Now, things are going to change. It's never going to be 100% the same, but Smart HDR was on the iPhone XR and Auto HDR was on the 8 Plus, so keeping those things in mind. And I think that the iPhone 8 Plus might have the better photo here. This is just natural lighting. I had my photo lighting on too, so I think the iPhone 8 Plus might have been better in this situation. And so I'll just probably say 1 point for the iPhone 8 Plus. Now here's the next thing. Okay, this is kind of interesting. The iPhone XR does not have that secondary lens, and a lot of you guys might think, and you might look at this photo and be like, well, the iPhone XR has the best photo because it's sharper and this and that. But you have to remember that the iPhone 8 Plus has the advantage here, in my opinion, because you're able to zoom in twice the amount than you are on the iPhone XR because of that secondary lens. And again, you might be looking at these photos, you might be like, well, the iPhone XR looks much clearer and this and that, but you have the ability on the iPhone 8 Plus to zoom out if you want to. And even though the photo on the iPhone 8 Plus and in the background looks blurrier, I think that is actually kind of a pro, because that means you zoomed in more into the photo. Now, if you go to something like a XS Max, they might have been able to clear it out a little bit so it's not as blurry in the background, like in this case. And it also depends on the background too, but you can see that, in my opinion, when you zoom in a lot, the iPhone 8 Plus's background and then the back is actually more wider than it is on the iPhone XR. And these photos were taking literally like 10 seconds apart, so it's not like the lighting changed. I focused them on the same part. I just autofocused. I didn't even touch the screen at all. I just zoomed in and took the photo. And again, the iPhone XR's photo is clearer, I guess, but the iPhone 8 Plus has the functionality of zooming in twice as much, so I would probably give the advantage here to the iPhone 8 Plus. Now this next photo, there's really not too much from a bird's eye view that you can see that's different. And again, I didn't higher the brightness on anything or anything like that. These are non-edited in any way. One thing I kind of want to say though is that both these phones are like polar opposites sometimes, because if you look on the background of the iPhone 8 Plus's photo on my wooden table, you'll see that it actually is a little bit lighter than it is on the iPhone XR. It's the same photo. I didn't touch the screen at all. I just let it autofocus and take the photo. And I don't know which one looks better. I kind of like the iPhone XR just because it does kind of darken the image and it looks a little bit better. That might be more software, but the iPhone 8 Plus might be appealing to some of you guys as well. So in certain conditions, if you're especially putting a dark image, like a dark phone on a kind of dark background, there might be some overexposing maybe on the iPhone 8 Plus versus on an iPhone XR that kind of evens out the photo a little bit and makes it look a little bit, I guess, less bright. I think that's the best way I can put it. But in other cases, the iPhone 8 Plus lowers and darkens the image where the iPhone XR brightens it. So it's really weird. It's like polar opposites sometimes. And this photo is also another case of that. On the iPhone 8 Plus, you can see that the grass is pretty bright. I feel like it's a little bit sharper on the iPhone 8 Plus, in my opinion, than it is on the iPhone XR. You can see that the background on the iPhone XR is a little bit darker. And again, these photos were taken literally seconds away from each other, same kind of lighting and everything like that. I don't doctor these images, but it seems like to me that the iPhone XR photo is a little bit darker. So I think it tries its best to even out the image, where the iPhone 8 Plus kind of tries to brighten or overexpose and tries to make the whites wider and the darks darker. And I actually kind of like that, in my opinion. I think I like the iPhone 8 Plus photo here. If you're taking a photo such as grass or something like that, you might see that it seems like the 8 Plus does a better job at finding what's in the photo the most and kind of expanding and brightening the image if it needs to brighten. Looking at this next one, there's really not too much that I can see difference here. I mean, they both look pretty much the same. The Rubik's Cube, again, lighting was the same on both. It does look like to me that the iPhone XR does do a better job at kind of blurring out the grass in the background, which might be a pro, I can only see that as a pro. That's kind of like a bokeh effect a little bit. I think the iPhone XR does a better job at that for sure. The iPhone 8 Plus, obviously, if you weren't comparing these side by side, you probably would not be able to tell a difference at all. Again, I'm not holding the Rubik's Cube exactly the same, so there's a little bit difference there. So in terms of the Rubik's Cube itself, I mean, it does look like it's a little bit darker on the iPhone XR, just by a little bit though, but again, I can't really tell too much. But in terms of the background of the blur effect, I can definitely see that it's a little bit more blurry on the iPhone XR than it is on the iPhone 8 Plus for sure. Now here's another interesting thing between these. Okay, the iPhone XR does have portrait mode technically speaking, but it's not as much portrait mode as the iPhone 8 Plus. I would consider the iPhone XR having like portrait mode light. So in a case like this, these are both portrait mode. These are zoomed out all the way. So it's not like I'm zoomed in on the iPhone 8 Plus. This is what portrait mode is going to get you. You do have more lighting and portrait lighting on the iPhone 8 Plus than on the iPhone XR. And you can see right now that the iPhone 8 Plus looks a little bit more vibrant. The photo looks a little bit brighter. Again, the iPhone XR does not do portrait mode on anything else besides humans. You can only do it on humans, but I don't have a human to test, and it should be able to get the same effect on both. And you can see that the iPhone 8 Plus in terms of portrait mode does win here as well. I'll probably say that in terms of everything, if you're doing it on a human or whatever, you probably won't notice that much of a difference, I'll be honest. But in a case like this, if you want to take a portrait mode on something else other than a human, you're going to have problems doing it on an iPhone XR. You can see that the photo overall looks much, much better, in my opinion, on the iPhone 8 Plus. And some people might actually like the iPhone XR, how it darkens the images sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't darken the image that well, or at all. I mean, on the next photo, you'll see that I took a photo of the iPhone XR. This was on lighting. This lighting was pretty bad, I'm not going to even lie. But they were both in the same lighting condition, and look what happens on these two. The iPhone 8 Plus actually darkened the background of the image, where the iPhone XR kind of overexposed the image. Again, I didn't touch the focus. I just held it over the screen on the exact same part and clicked the button. And I don't really know which one looks better here. In my opinion, I think the iPhone 8 Plus might have the advantage here, because I kind of like that darker effect. I like how it, blackens the border around the phone. But some people might like how the iPhone XR looks, how you can see more of the basically border and kind of something like that. Now, for some reason, the XR photo looks blurry. I'm not too sure why that's the case. I mean, the lens was clear. I didn't move the phone too much. But maybe that's just me looking at it now. It's actually not even that blurry, but you can be the judge of it. I think the iPhone 8 Plus photo looks a little bit better here in my opinion. Looking at this next photo, this is kind of more brighter lighting. Again, like the iPhone XR kind of darkens the image a little bit more, where the iPhone 8 Plus kind of lightens the image. And I don't know which one I like. I mean, I probably like the iPhone 8 Plus one more. And it looks like I took the photos side by side, or took them in different locations, the exact same locations on both these phones. And I don't know. I mean, I would probably say that the iPhone 8 Plus has the advantage in this photo too. But maybe the iPhone XR, might be appealing to some of you. And this is why it's kind of hard to compare both of them in terms of speed and everything. Like, you can see that, which one is faster. And it's not really controversial opinion. But on cameras, some people like some things, some other people like other things. So I just want to show you both sides, and you can figure it out from there. So in terms of this, if you're taking a photo on like a lighter image, the iPhone 8 Plus will probably do you better, in my opinion. Now, from this photo of me taking the DS, I couldn't really figure out any differences or anything. They both look pretty much the same photo. I could have probably even taken the same photo on both phones and held the DS a little bit differently, and you probably wouldn't even notice that much of a difference. So in terms of both, you might be able to see a difference. I wasn't even going to put this in the video, but I figured I might as well if you guys want to see it. Now, this is kind of interesting because I took the same image. This is pretty bad lighting. It looks like it's good lighting, but it's not even that good lighting at all. And it looks like on both phones, it doesn't really do a good job. It looks like the iPhone XR might have the advantage here too, because it kind of lightens the image. I feel like the iPhone XR does a better job of finding out what's in the photo and trying to kind of blend the colors together to kind of make the photo look better. And I think that has a lot to do with the smart HDR, whereas the 8 Plus, it's kind of more basic. I mean, everything looks pretty much like, it doesn't seem like one thing overpowers the photo, where you can kind of see the XR. It might be have the advantage here, in my opinion, because you can see more of the screen. So another point to the iPhone XR. Hopefully I'm keeping a tally up there. Now, this is another interesting photo, and from a bird's eye view, again, you might see that there's not that much of a difference, but I think the iPhone XR, in terms of direct lighting, does kind of a better job too. It looks like the wallpaper on my iPhone X in the back looks a little bit darker on the iPhone XR, and I kind of like that. I like when the colors look a little bit darker. I don't like it when they overexpose everything and stuff like that. Now, when we actually zoom in a little bit, you can actually see that the iPhone XR does do a better job. Like, it seems like it's a little bit washed out on the iPhone 8 Plus, but on the iPhone XR, it looks like it's a little bit better. Again, these were taken in the same lighting conditions, same everything. But I feel like even if you look at the Safari or you look at anything else, it looks like it's a little bit washed out on the iPhone 8 Plus, just a little bit. Whereas on the iPhone XR, it looks a little bit better. Now, if you looked at these photos and looked away, honestly, you probably wouldn't tell a difference. But once you start looking at them a little bit longer, you can start to see some more differences. Now here's another one of a closer subject of a Game Boy Advance SP. There's really not too much of a difference here either. It looks like the iPhone XR does darken the image a little bit, but it's really not that much of a difference, I'll be honest. And these were all kind of indoor conditions. Now I took some outdoor photos as well, and this was kind of interesting. When I took a photo of my patio thing, of the wood, it looks like the iPhone 8 Plus darkens it a little bit, where the iPhone XR kind of lightens and smooths out the image. And I'll be honest, I don't know which one I like more. It looks like they both have their advantages. I mean, I kind of like the iPhone 8 Plus a little bit, but I honestly can't tell. I mean, they both, like I said, have their advantages, have their disadvantages, but it seems like in terms of both, I don't know, this is probably personal preference for a lot of people. Now here's another zoomed in photo, okay? Now looking at these photos again, you might think, oh, the iPhone XR photo looks less blurry, this and that, but this was me taking a photo from like 4 or 5 floors up of me taking a photo of grass. I zoomed in all the way, so I was holding the phone from the same height, and you can see how much more you're able to zoom in on the iPhone 8 Plus than on the iPhone XR. I mean, you're missing out on a lot of a photo, potentially, if you need to zoom in a lot on the iPhone XR where you don't have that capability there. And obviously, if I took the photos at the same height and I zoomed out a little bit more on the iPhone 8 Plus, I still think that maybe the iPhone 8 Plus might have the advantage here. Now, I took another photo of the light post thing, and it does look like the iPhone 8 Plus kind of darkens the gray background. There's really not too much of a difference with the actual post thing light itself. But when you look at the back, it does look like the iPhone 8 Plus, I don't know, like, I kind of like the darkness a little bit. Whereas on the iPhone XR, it kind of smooths out the image, and you can see a little bit more of the lighting. And I'll tell you this, the iPhone XR looks a little bit more even. The iPhone 8 Plus, I think I like that look a little bit more. It looks a little bit more sharper, a little bit darker here and there. But some people might like how it lightens the photos on the iPhone XR. So again, I think, honestly, in real life, I think the iPhone XR does a better job at showing the actual color of what it is, because I feel like the wall that's there is more of the iPhone XR. It's a little bit lighter and not as dark as the iPhone 8 Plus, but I mean, it is what it is. And this last outside photo is a little bit more kind of showing the iPhone XR lightening up a photo. And you can see that I didn't autofocus, I didn't do anything. The iPhone 8 Plus's photo, I mean, you can see it's the same thing on both. It's really not too much of a difference. But when you look at the ceiling, the kind of goldish yellow part on the right side, you can see that it's a little bit darker on the iPhone 8 Plus again, where it's a little bit lighter on the iPhone XR. And I kind of like the look of the iPhone XR. I feel like the iPhone 8 Plus makes it look a little bit more dirty, because the ceilings are a little dirty, but the iPhone XR does make it look a little bit less dirty. So again, this is kind of a spread. It just depends which one you like. Do you like a kind of a darker photo overall and a little bit more sharper photo, or do you like a little bit more of an even photo? And I feel like that's what you're going to get on an iPhone XR. But in terms of both, in terms of like software and everything, I think the iPhone XR might have the advantage, even though it has less portrait mode settings and everything. But the iPhone 8 Plus, I would say, probably has the overall advantage in my book, because you are able to do full portrait mode settings, even on things that aren't humans or anything like that. And you also have that secondary lens where you can do 2x optical zoom, and it's really just up to you. I mean, I did do a video test, but honestly, it's not even that good. Like, they both look exactly the same. I'm being like completely honest. I might do a video test between like a 7 Plus and an iPhone XR, but in terms of video and everything, they both looked exactly the same. I didn't feel like wasting your guys' time in doing that, but that is pretty much it. I'll let you guys be the judge. I don't know who won. I think maybe the iPhone 8 Plus or iPhone XR won. I don't know, but whichever one got the most points, shout out to them. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button. That'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber we get really does count, so it'll mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel that is also linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check that out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.